I'm Laurie Gaylor.
And I'm Dan Barker. We're co-presidents of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, which works to keep state and church separate and to educate the public about the views of non-theists. On today's show, we're talking about atheism in Africa.
The Freedom from Religion Foundation, which produces Freethought Matters, is the nation's largest association of free thinkers. That's atheists, agnostics, and other non-believers. We invite you to join us in our vital work to keep our secular government free from religious influence. Become a member at FFRF.org or ask for a complimentary copy of our newspaper, Freethought Today. Freedom depends on freethinkers. Watch prior episodes of Freethought Matters on FFRF's YouTube channel.
Africa's largest and most active atheist group is Atheists in Kenya. They promote freedom of thought and speech, and they advocate for the rights of non-believers. They also won a significant lawsuit against government censorship.
And here to talk with us today is Harrison Mumia, the courageous founder and president of Atheists in Kenya. He goes by his last name, Mumia, and Mumia is a digital marketing specialist with a degree in computer science and spends most of his free time as a volunteer advocating for atheism in a country drenched with religion. Welcome to Freethought Matters, Mumia.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to join this show. Thank you.
I've been watching some of your activities online, and you have a wonderful webpage, and I'm very impressed with how busy you are, how positive you are, how active you are. But before we get to some of the specific issues that you're facing, let's look at part of a video that you produced about your activities and your successful lawsuit, which allowed Atheists in Kenya to register as an official group.
Mumia here, Harrison.
Mumia?
Yes.
Are you still pursuing those things?
No. The government, and I want to thank the Office of the Registrar for supporting us. And this is because the Constitution allows it. So don't worry about your personal opinion.
Mumia is a son of a reverend. This guy you see here.
Yeah. No. I think we're in a new dispensation. I think the problem we have, I normally get this problem with a lot of people. Let people believe what they want to believe. Let your personal opinion be yours. Kenya is about 85 to 90% religious. Any typical Kenya will have to probably go through a religious upbringing. The Atheists in Kenya Society has been registered by the government. And so we are part of this government. We went to court, we won that case, so you have to live with us. Being an atheist in Kenya is not easy at all. Now, what prompted me to form the Atheists in Kenya Society is I strongly believed that we have like-minded Kenyans, but they do not have a platform. When we applied for the registration of the Atheists in Kenya Society, the registrar refused to register the society until we piled pressure on her to actually do it. We were actually suspended by the government in 2016, and we had to move to court, and we won the case court against the government. But I think, the thing which we are seeing is this idea that there is something wrong with us not believing in God. I think we need to really kill that mentality so that you as a human being and me, we are human, but our differences, we do respect them.
So, Mumia, you talked about it a bit in the video, but why and when did you start Atheists in Kenya?
Thank you so much. The Atheists in Kenya Society was registered in 2016 through efforts that me and a few other courageous Kenyans made to get the society registered. The registration wasn't a smooth sailing because as soon as we got registered, the government just decided to suspend our registration. And the reason for the suspension was that religious groups, came out and said it is wrong for an atheist society to be registered in Kenya. After the suspension, of course, we moved to court and we challenged the suspension, and eventually the court found that the government of Kenya had done something that was unconstitutional by suspending the society. So we have been around from 2016, and we are still fighting for our existence as a society. As you know, we already have another suit that has been filed in courts challenging our existence. So we are also back to court as we speak.
Oh, another group is challenging your existence?
Yes, there is a politician who has moved to court. They moved to court in 2022, challenging the constitutionality of the atheists in Kenya society. So currently we are in court. I was in court 4 months ago. We are going back to court in May, and it's really the same thing. What is happening in Kenya is that the religious groups working with mostly the government to try and get the society to be suspended on legal grounds. But our courts have several times, stood their ground that there is nothing wrong with registering an atheist society in Kenya. So these are just the attempts that the government and their proxies have been making ever since we got registered. The Kenyan government is not comfortable with our existence. But we are happy that our courts and the Constitution is on our side.
So you have a secular government. Otherwise, you would not have been able to win that lawsuit, correct?
Yeah, the Kenyan Constitution is secular. I mean, our government is supposed to be secular, but then it's not secular in practice. It's secular in law, but in practice, there's a lot of religion in Kenya. I mean, as you heard me in that video, over 90% really of Kenyans profess either Christianity or Islam. So we are a minority that is not even liked. I don't think many Kenyans want the atheists in Kenya to exist, the society itself. But as I've said, the court battles we are fighting are just part of the efforts that are being made by the majority religious groups working with the government to try and get us suspended. So as I'm telling you, we are in court again. There's a court matter that is alive, and we are fighting for our existence for the second time. Yes. And we think we are going to win the case, but this is just a demonstration of the kind of environment we exist in Kenya. Yeah.
Well, I think there are a lot of Christian nationalist groups in the United States that would like to ban the Freedom from Religion Foundation if they could, and we certainly hear a lot of religious people calling us and saying, "How dare you exist?" Yeah. But we're so sorry you've had to have this fight just for your existence.
So you said about 90% of the country is religious. What about you? Were you raised religious, or are you a lifelong atheist?
Yeah, I was raised religious. Typically, any Kenyan goes through a religious upbringing because if you look at most families in Kenya, they hold the position that the best way to raise a child is by taking them to church, introducing them to the church or the mosque for that matter. And so I, like many children, I went through that kind of upbringing. But I think I decided, I started having doubts of the existence of God, and not just that, of just whether religion makes sense when I finished high school in Kenya. And when I went to the university, I decided to just look at the information that is around, a lot of information regarding religion, the history of Christianity, the history of Islam. If you look at the biblical texts, the contradictions, the nature of the biblical God, the nature of the Islamic God, the authenticity of the creation story. I mean, I looked at a lot of information and came to the conclusion that it's not possible that there is somebody in the sky who cares so much about us, called God. And I decided at that point to reject the idea that there is a God, and of course went ahead to register the Atheists in Kenya Society.
So it's one thing to be an atheist, to realize you've been indoctrinated and you reject religion, but it's another thing to become an activist and to start a countrywide organization, Atheists in Kenya. So what propelled that?
So the laws of Kenya allow for the freedom of association. So obviously that's the first thing. We are allowed to register. So long as you are not hurting anybody, so long as you're not a criminal organization, the Constitution allows you to register. But the reason why I proceeded to register the society is because there was no representation for the atheist community. There was no organization that represented the atheist community. It only made sense to me that we must register. Of course, churches are registered. The Islamic faiths, they have been registered by the government to operate in Kenya. So I told myself, in order to expand the freedom of religion, which includes freedom from religion, we must have an atheist society in Kenya that caters for the minority of people who hold the position that there's nothing supernatural in our existence. And so the motivation was to cater for that community, that minority community of atheists. And I think that is why I went ahead to register the society.
Well, so like so many founders of groups, you saw a hole that needed to be filled. So we're so glad you're there.
You've been receiving a lot of media coverage. I've seen some newspaper headlines about your group. So the media is paying attention. Is it mostly positive or is it negative media that you're getting?
The media is just excited, and they find that atheism in Kenya is a concept that is shrouded in mystery. I'll tell you, a lot of Kenyans think that we worship the devil. They think there is absolutely something wrong with me as a person. A lot of Kenyans think that I am driving an agenda that is, satanic. So what happens is that the fact that the government has registered this society is the reason why the media, is quite excited about this, because the media wants to cover stories. And the more the controversy, of course, the more the media sort of gets, a lot of following. But I'm also riding and taking advantage of that, because we are working with the media to raise awareness about, atheism and what it is. And whenever I'm invited to the media, I normally talk about the society, what we stand for. I clarify that we are not about the devil. We don't even think, believe the devil exists. We are just here to promote the fact that people exist in Kenya who don't hold the belief in God. And we are telling the Kenyans that it is normal to do that. I mean, this is freedom of thought. This is freedom of conscience. So I think the media is excited about me. They always call me. I was actually, just a week ago, I think I was invited to a radio show, and they are always trying to find out, so, who are you and what do you believe? Why did you become an atheist? Why do you think there's no God? Kenya has become one country in Africa where the media is very interested in what atheism is. This has never happened in Kenya. And most African countries, we don't have a lot of atheist organizations. So you find that the media in Kenya really wants to get down to what exactly is, who are these people? How do you possibly not believe in God? Remember, in Kenya also, people believe that they were created by God. Millions of Kenyans believe there is heaven and there is hell. Millions of Kenyans believe that if you pray to God, He's going to answer your prayers. And so if you don't believe in those things, you become like a very strange fellow, a very strange human being in this country.
Well, we need to take a break, but one final question before that break, Mumia. You, in the video that we saw, I noticed there was a woman in a burqa, which is awful to see, that suppression. Of the 80 or 90% of Kenyans who are religious, what's the breakdown between Christian and Muslim?
So we could say like 80% of Kenyans profess Christianity and maybe 10% or so profess Islam. So that's basically how it is.
So when we come back from the break, Mumia, we want to talk about some of the specific activities that your group is doing. We'll be continuing our conversation with Harrison Mumia, who's the founder and president of Atheists in Kenya.
Hi, I'm Ron Reagan, an unabashed atheist.
When I first recorded that commercial back in 2014, being openly atheist in America was still fairly uncommon. Today, the fastest growing religious group in the country is the non-religious, especially among the young. That progress is heartening, but the religious pushback is fierce and the forces of Christian nationalism are well organized. Our progress won't continue unless we work together so that reason and our secular constitution will prevail. That's why I'm asking you to join the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the nation's largest and most effective association of atheists and agnostics working to keep state and church separate, just like our founders intended. Please join the Freedom from Religion Foundation today. Ron Reagan, lifelong atheist, not afraid of burning in hell.
My name is Gabrielle Hinahara, and I'm an atheist because I believe in the power of doing good for the sake of doing good, and not because some divine entity tells you what is good and what's not, and not because you think it will get you into some sort of heavenly afterlife. I believe in human morality, which is why I think that most cultures across the world have come to the kind of same basic principles and values, such as the Golden Rule, which isn't based in religion, but is based in human interactions and mutual respect. And I think a lot of people turn to religion because it makes the choice of morality really easy, black and white, right and wrong, and you don't have to decide which is which. And in my experience as being an atheist through my life, I've found that moral choices are something that I think about a lot more than a lot of other people because nobody's telling me the answer. And since I don't believe in an afterlife, pretty much my whole meaning in life is based on my interactions with other people and that I can leave this world a better place by my actions.
We're continuing our conversation with an atheist pioneer in Kenya who had to fight in court for the right to start a group called Atheists in Kenya. Mumia, Atheists in Kenya, is a member of Humanists International. So are most atheists in Kenya humanists? And if that's true, how do you define humanism?
The idea of humanism is grounded on the fact that we are human beings, and what we need to focus on is how we are going to flourish. We exist on this earth, for a short time. What we need to do is to ensure everybody is flourishing in their own way, whether it's through scientific discoveries that make us not, fall sick, whether it's through ensuring that we eradicate poverty. These are things that matter to us. And therefore, I think humanism is rooted in the fact that as human beings, we have the capacity to improve our lives and make sure that we flourish as a species.
Your homepage has the words, "You can be good without God." So I'm going to ask you the obvious question. How can you be good without God, Mumia?
That's a good question. Why we have that on our homepage is because religious people in Kenya believe that you cannot be good without God. That is how the Christians and Muslims see it in Kenya. What we are saying is goodness has nothing to do with God. And that is the reason why we have that phrase there, you can be good without God, to make sure that people understand that as human beings, we can be good without necessarily being religious, that goodness has nothing to do with a belief in a supernatural being. It has everything to do with the fact that you want the other human being to just be as happy as you, and you can actively do things that improve your own well-being and the well-being of other human beings.
So by the way, Kenya has many claims to fame, of course, but in atheism, Kenya has a special claim to fame in the fact that probably the most famous atheist in the world was born in Kenya. True?
Yes. And we are proud about that. Richard Dawkins, I've read his history. He was born in Kenya. The book he wrote on the God Delusion, very popular book, very famous book. We have, I read it and I realized, there's somebody here who was born in Kenya and he has come out, written a book, several books actually, but that's one of the most influential books in the history of, atheism and challenging religious faith. So as a Kenyan, I would say I am very proud that Richard Dawkins actually was part of the contributing factors that led to me having that inspiration to register such a society. That is something I must thank him for.
But Mumia, I wonder what are the other repercussions of colonialism, the British rule in Kenya regarding separation of state and church. Does Kenya have good laws on, for example, the right, to be LGBTQ?
The laws of Kenya allow for Kenyans not to be discriminated based upon religion and sex. Of course, the problem we have in Kenya is not the laws. Our laws are very progressive. Our laws are very liberal. The problem we have in Kenya is the privilege that religion has. And that privilege is affecting how people think generally. So our history has to do with that. We were colonized by the British. The British really, what they did is, I think, as Africans, we were never Christians or Muslims. I think we had our own ways of worshiping many years ago. But I think when colonialism came, education came, and of course religion also came, and it came in the form of Christianity and Islam, and that is why we have a lot of people professing some of these faiths. If you come to Kenya, by the way, Christianity exists, but it doesn't exist in one form. We have the Catholics, we have the Protestants, we have the SDAs, we have the Seventh-day Adventists. So it's not like we have one Christian, organization. There are several, and that is really how Christianity spread in Kenya. I think colonialism, played a role, and that is why we are where we are. In part because the religious beliefs that colonialists came with to Africa, and Kenya being one of the countries in Africa, we adopted them, and that is why we are where we are.
Well,
the beauty about
that's why we're speaking English right now, isn't it?
As human beings, we always progress in various ways. I think the fact that colonialists came is not, they came and colonized us. It's not like a really pretty bad thing, because we also got to learn. They introduced education. The education systems we have right now, the British education system, has really helped us to, understand English, which is basically a universal language. I think we can learn a lot from cultures. We can learn a lot from each other as human beings. Of course, we take the things that help us, and of course, we obviously reject things that do not help us. And I think I believe in the area of religion and religious belief. That is something that I think we are challenging right now.
So Mumia, can you briefly tell us some of the activities of atheists in Kenya? Because I understand it's really considered brave to come out as an atheist in public. What kinds of activities do you engage in?
We do have, every month we meet twice, and we provide a community for atheists to meet in Nairobi, Kenya, in a hotel in Kenya. So during our meetings, we invite any Kenyan who is, willing to come to join us. We have very interesting conversations. I personally listen to a lot of stories of Kenyans who are living with families that the parents are very religious, and the parents are threatening the atheists to not, be with them. I mean, there's a lot of hostility for Kenyans who are living with families that are very religious in their background. So we try to provide a platform through our meetings for people like that to come and meet like-minded people. We also have a book club, and we discuss various books written by people like Richard Dawkins, Daniel Dennett, and the rest. And our book club is very exciting. We get to look at some of the writings of these people. We are organizing a conference next month, and we want to have speakers from all over the world to join us through Skype or wherever, so that we have this global conference that can bring like-minded people together. So we have a lot of events in Kenya that bring Kenyans together in one place. And by the way, we are the only ones running such kind of events. There is no other group, and that is why I think the Kenyans don't get it. Kenyans think that we are running a cult. They have this notion that if you don't believe in God, there's something wrong with you. There's something you're doing that is devilish. But we are working hard to make sure that, together with the media and, of course, through shows like this ones, that we create a lot of awareness of what we are doing.
And don't you do some charitable work, too?
Yes, we have paid school fees. We have done charity work. We've been able to support the needy in Kenya. We did support a child who was very needy. He did not have money to go to school. We paid for the child's school fees. And you know what the mother said? The mother said that he thanks God that the Atheist Society
this is very common.
Paid school fees for the child.
Very common in the United States, too. Well, we thank you for being there. We don't thank God for your group. And if people want to learn more about Atheists in Kenya, you have a website. Is that where they should go?
Yes, please visit our website, www.atheistinkenya.org, and all our information about what we are doing is there. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for everything you are doing for atheism in Kenya and in Africa and in the whole world, Harrison Mumia. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And thank you for watching Freethought Matters.
Because free thought matters.
Hi, I'm Steve Pinker. In my book, Enlightenment Now, I show that the world has become a better place as reason has been overcoming superstition and tribalism. But the values of the Enlightenment are under attack. That's why I'm a proud member of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, the nation's largest association of free thinkers working to keep state and church separate. Please join me in supporting the Freedom from Religion Foundation to ensure that our government is driven not by religion, but by reason.